Hey Algebra 1, today we're going to do 9.4, solve equations using square roots. Now I don't remember in class if we've done this before, so I'm going to teach you as if we never have. But sometimes we'll have a situation like this, a very basic one. Let's do 3x squared equals 12, let's say. Okay? Every time you have an equation, you basically always ask to find x. What does it mean to find x? You're finding the value of x that makes this true. Now, let's look at this carefully. We have 3 on this side and a 12 on this side. So usually what we do is we divide 3 on both sides. And then what we get is x squared equals 4. Now here's the dilemma, or here's what's new, I should say. We have an x squared. So I want you to think for 3 seconds. What's the opposite of squaring something? Many of you might have just said that check mark thing. Some of you might have said the square root. Whatever you might have said, this is the correct answer, the square root. The squaring something and square rooting something is opposites. Seems to make sense because I square up to it and I square root down. So I cross this out, which is x. Over here, the square root of 4. So what times itself gives you 4? You should see it's 2, but here's very important. It's not just positive 2, but negative 2 also. So when you square root a single number, you have to do plus or minus that number. Because think of it this way. Positive 2 times positive 2 gives you 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 also gives you 4. So that means it's plus or minus 2. Okay? So always include that plus minus. Don't forget it. Sometimes it's even easier though. X squared plus 5 equals 5. So we're going to subtract 5 on both sides. So x squared equals 0. The question might be, can you square root 0? Yeah, you could square root 0. The square root of 0 is 0 because 0 times 0 gives you 0. Very important though, there's no plus or minus 0. So don't put a plus and minus when it's 0. It is just 0. There's no negative 0, there's no positive 0. 0 is just 0. Okay? So when you square root a positive number, you get 2 solutions. When you square root 0, you get 1 solution. Do you have any guess what's going to happen when you square root a negative number? Let's see. So do x squared plus 5 equals, let's make it 1 this time. Well, minus 5 minus 5, we have x squared equals negative 4. All right, I want to square root both sides. But, like I said, a positive number gives you 2 solutions. 0 gives you 1 solution. So negative 4 is going to give you a certain amount of solutions. And the answer is no solution. Why is negative 4, the square root of negative 4, no solution? Well, simply because of this. If you do 2 times 2, positive 2 times positive 2, that gets you a positive 4. If you do negative 2 times negative 2, that gets you a positive 4. The issue is I can't have the same exact number give me a negative 4. You could do 2 times negative 2, but these two numbers are not the same exact number. So that's not a square root. So that's my issue. I don't have a number that's exactly the same to this. So what happens when you do square root a negative number? It is no solution. And because it's no solution, when you see you square rooting a negative number by itself, you automatically know it's a no solution. All right, I'm going to go on to the next type of question. All right, our next question is 9x squared plus 4. So 9x squared plus 4, what do we have to do on both sides? Well, seems like I have to divide by 9 to get the x squared by itself. maybe there's a question that someone's thinking, what if we square root first? That's improper because the same way you have to add and subtract away the x first before you multiply and divide, same thing with square. The rules when we are solving an equation is opposite of PEMDAS. So notice how we always add and subtract first and then we multiply and divide? Or usually it's like, let's say x plus 2x plus 5 equals 11. We would subtract first. So that's 6 equals 2x. Then divide. So exponents are e in this one. So exponents go after, I should say, multiplication when we're solving an equation. When we do it normally, we follow the normal order operations. But that's just a side note. Let's continue. So x squared equals 4 over 9. And now you're like, Mr. Tobel, you know I don't like fractions. What are you doing? I'm just telling you that when you square root one side and you square root the other, this is positive, so it's okay. I could square root that. You could square root the top and bottom separately. So two numbers that are the same, that multiply to 4 and 4. Well, that is 2. And then two numbers that multiply to 9 that are the same, that's 3. Remember though, since it was a positive number, it's going to be both the positive and negative version. Negative 2 over 3 times negative 2 over 3 would get you a positive 4 over 9. Okay, so that's that one. I'm going to pause and then I'm going to set up a next question. All right, last example that teaches something a little different. This is going to show what happens, or what do we do when the number's not clean. Well, when the number is not clean, we're still going to try to get x squared by itself. That's still our first goal every time. So 3x squared equals 18. Divided by 3, divided by 3, x squared equals 6. Now I'm going to square root both sides. Remember, your first goal always is just to get x squared by yourself. That's the first thing you ever do, using your algebra skills, let's say. Now you got x squared by itself. X squared equals the square root of 6. The problem is the square root of 6, there's no number that multiplies itself, at least no whole number. Like 3 times 3 gives you 9, 2 times 2 gives you 4. So there's no number that gives it. So there's only one solution. Use your calculator. Now the calculator. Now how to do that on your calculator. You pull out your calculator here. My battery's dead, so I can't actually use the calculator the way I would like to. But regardless, I'll just show you where the buttons are. On the calculator, you click second. So you click that. And then you're going to see, you see the little square root button over there? On x squared, you see how they're opposites, x squared and x? You just click that. And then you'll be able to type in the number. So in your calculator, you would type in square root 6, or second x squared. That will get you the square root symbol, and it's 6. And you should find, it should be, you could kind of guess, we know it's going to be between 2 and 3. And the reason we know it's going to be 2 and 3 is because 2 squared is 4, and 3 squared is 9, and 6 is between 4 and 6. So it's going to be 2.45. Now look at this carefully. Did I forget anything? The one thing you have to pay attention is I forgot the plus or minus, okay? So your answer should be plus or minus 2.45. So today we're going to have a mandatory Zoom, and for the rest of the year it's going to be mandatory. I'm going to go over the examples. So instead of the examples being on this YouTube video, it's me going over examples in Zoom. And those examples will be taken from your homework, so it's highly recommended that when you come, you also pay attention, because I basically am doing some of your homework for you. All right? Otherwise, have a wonderful day, guys.